Hello and thanks for clicking. In this video I want to talk about some upcoming changes to my template. I expect those changes to be uploaded maybe within a week or two. Right now I'm just browsing through an old file I made. The reason I dug this file up is it made a kind of a good platform just to test out my line weights and everything. Some history with my template is that I wanted to create something that looked very much like it would print while you're drafting, almost like doing manual drafting on a white page, right? Because nobody ever drafted with a white pencil on a black sheet. So I wanted to see something close to what I was going to print while I was drafting, right? And I found just working with the black background, all the different colors and stuff, I just wasn't bringing my attention to the things that needed attention. I was missing too much stuff, lots of typos relatively, right? So I just found working like this, a lot of modern programs, they have a lighter background, right? Just found it was working a lot better for me. So yeah, so just this file isn't really related to my template directly, but it just made a good test platform for all my line weights and everything. Making sure everything looked pretty good. So anyways, I'm going to get out of this file and go into my template to talk about the actual changes, the real reason for making this video. Okay, so if you're familiar with my channel, you kind of know that I've been building this template, or built this template, and I've been making more or less minor improvements to it along the way. But yeah, so you know the gist of it. I think the first time I completed it and uploaded it, I was somewhat in a hurry and I was a little bit too ambitious. I tried to add too much stuff to it. So anyways, I've kind of been fixing it up and uploading the changes, the improvements, kind of as I go. This is more or less near completion, so where this one falls is probably going to be close to the final iteration. I'll get into that a little bit later. But anyways, first I'll go through the important stuff. One thing is that I've renamed the LISP files. And this will suck if you've already gone through the trouble of editing the code, but I had to do it because the way it was organized and compared to the stuff I work with on a day-to-day basis, it was just too hard to jump back and forth and find where certain pieces of code were. So if you're starting fresh, this will be way easier, but if you already have the Lisp, you changed it and everything, if it's working, just stick with it, but this is going to be easier to change, to upgrade, to update, and so on, right? But yeah, so I have it organized. Anything with an X in front of it should just be like kind of stuff working in the background. Anything without the X will have a command name in it if you do want to edit the command aliases. So yeah, that was the first thing. I reorganized the code. I got rid of that VLX file. I don't even want to talk about that. There was like a semi-rational reason, but just was going to cause more trouble than good, just having some of the code in the VLX file that you couldn't edit and whatnot. In theory, it makes it faster too, but on modern computers, that's a non-issue. Okay, so yeah, I consolidated the code to make changes easier. Sorry, this video is just going to be slapped together, but whatever. I just want to get the information out there. I don't want to, I'm not going to do any groundbreaking production quality or anything like that. So anyways, I've pretty much got all that covered. The leader line shortcuts, I've changed them. I've done this because I found that moving my commands to Rhino 3D, some aliases work and some don't. This little, what do they call that? The back tick? That's the key on an English keyboard. That's the key to the left of the one key. It's not the apostrophe way on the right side. So it makes it really quick just to hit that and the one key or the two or whatever. So anyways, I'll go into the Visual Lisp Editor so you can see that. If you ever want to change these commands, remember the C semicolon designates it as a command line command. This does not. This is just, you can name your functions whatever you want, but a C and a semicolon means command line. So you just change this. If you wanted to change that back to the 1, you could just do that, but I'm going to put that back like that. So it's very easy to change your command shortcuts. So don't worry too much about that. But yeah, I'm eventually going to port a lot of these commands into Rhino 3D, and I just want to keep it consistent. And it's just racking my brain going back and forth and having to remember what I did there, right? So anyways, let's go back into the file and go through more of these changes. Okay, I might add a leader line annotation layer. So you know when I do my text commands or whatever, it says select point or L for layer, and then I can change the layer if I want to go to the annotations layer instead. And same with the leaders. But the leaders and text are attached, right? And I got rid of that originally because it was just too much. Felt like it was too many options. But I realized there's kind of an advantage, because if I go into the M leader style, so if I have the leaders on the same layer, but I want them with different line weights, I got to change it in here. And I don't know, like if you have to go through every leader style, which I got to set to 0.18 millimeters, but if you have to go through every one and change it and whatnot, just easier to just have it on a layer. The Lisp kind of gives us an advantage. I want to use it. So anyways, I might add that, I might not. If you're watching this and you think I should separate the text and leader layers, do let me know. I guess that's half the reason for me posting this video, is just so I know that, okay, maybe that's a good idea, or okay, maybe not, right? Anyways, that's that. One more thing before moving on. I kind of covered this. I hate renaming the files, reorganizing the code, especially if someone's made changes to it, but it's I guess a necessary evil. If the code's working for you, you're going to be fine using the existing code. There's no real changes to the template or the layers or anything like that, so you're probably okay. And then the way this code is, you can probably just grab what you need and plop it into your... I shouldn't quite say that. I guess it's better just to say, if you have any questions, ask me in the comments. But for some of these commands, like the new revision cloud command and stuff like that, the text box, you'll just be able to replace it. Other stuff, anything that uses a selection or layer utilities, you'll have to kind of take a few steps to replace that code. But anyways, if you've not touched the code, you're okay. If you've modified it a little bit, you just start over. But if you've modified a lot, just stick to your code. There's not anything like it's not a day and night difference. These are just small but important improvements. Okay, next I had various UCS bugs going on in the code, and I think I can actually bring that up right now. I think it was this line of code. I was confused about this variable, so I think I was putting UCS Y direction right there instead. So I didn't quite understand how that worked, and because of that, everything was going in at the wrong angle with different UCS coordinates. So I'll go back into our file here. I'm going to do UCS follow. I'm going to set that to 1. I'm going to do UCS type 3 for 3 point. My new X, my new Y. Okay, just got to find where we were. So previously, for example, if I inserted the grid bubble, it wouldn't rotate in the right direction. And same with my callout rectangle and the callout bubble. Reminds me, I'm thinking about adding a command that draws a circle just like this rectangle, because that's something I use quite often too, I find. But yeah, so you'll notice with the old code that if you weren't using the world UCS, that would have some kind of wacky results. Yeah, so one thing I might fix is I might change the default layers, because it seems like once I change the code, it's not Put the callout, let's put it on text. Callout rectangle layer, let's put that on reference lines. Give the transparency 0. Okay, that's better. There we go. But yeah, so as you see, I got little things to test here and there. So that's that. The text box, actually, that's UCS previous. The text box was really hard to fix because I did the same thing. So remember with that text box command, you got to set that there. If I do tbox, should put me on the right layer. Make sure that's good. Tbox. Remember, you can change these aliases really easily. I'd probably change that alias if I use that command more often. But yeah, so that's one of my harder commands to code. Fortunately, I don't use it as much as I thought I would, so that's why I didn't test it too much. And then with things like UCS, that's one of those things where you don't know until you actually do it. So it was months and months and months until I discovered I screwed that up and had to fix that. But anyways, that's that. That's kind of a little bit embarrassing, but at the time I was just cranking out code. A bunch of other stuff came up, so I'm going to forgive myself for that one. So anyways, the grid bubble, let's go T for text. Let's start with 1. So the grid bubble was something I made. I actually wrote the code almost live, making a YouTube tutorial series. And it was okay code, but it was never refined or anything. So I finally decided, and that was one reason the grid bubble was not working with the UCS. It's just an old version of my code that I didn't rewrite, right? So anyways, I realized with a bit of tuning up, I could drastically improve the behavior. Remember, you can shrink the text on these if you need to. I can drastically improve the guessing, for example. So I'll go back to grid bubble again. I'll do text. I'll do A-1. This time I'll just do, let's see, C for, text. Text. A-A. Let's see if that works. So I think this will work. Let's do 0-Z. Text 0. I think I'd be able to use my own command. Actually, the grid bubble is something I actually use quite often. Okay, so it actually has a catch where it asks me for a different layer other than Z, so I'll go X. Okay, so I got bit of a bug in there, but I won't even fix that because I don't think anyone's ever going to encounter that, and you could just fix that yourself. Do text. Yes. Okay, so you get the point, right? I've fixed up the grid bubble. I make the guessing's way better than it was before. Okay, so one thing to quickly talk about is the automatic layer placement. This I gotta tweak it because for example, if you just copy maybe all the styles and everything into a new file, but you don't copy the layers, the commands will crash, kind of, sort of, maybe. So I'm trying to fix that, but if I do that, then the default layers wires get crossed, I guess. I'm kind of thinking about how to fix this in a way that doesn't make the code way too hard to adjust and stuff like that, like just putting stuff on the current layer or layer 0 or whatever. So anyways, this is in the works, and that's kind of one holdup for me releasing an updated version of this template. Okay, so last thing I want to talk about for Lisp improvements or updates to existing code. I'll save the new code for that section there. Is my true color override. Go like that. So it remembers my last color, right? But let's manually override this one. Let's go true color. We'll go that. So if I do that without a selection, same behavior as before, but if I do TTC now, it picks up the color override. So this, if I change the transparency, let's change it to 55, not 555. Oops. So it does pick up the 55, but you actually have to click this to activate it. Let's go OK. So the reason I did that was because I wanted to be able to like absorb up the properties if you want to put it on other stuff, right? So I know you can just do the match properties, right? But I feel like that behavior, it just gives you a better indicator. Like now you know what color that is, and if you press OK, you can take that color with you. If you press cancel, whatever. Without an implied selection, an existing selection, when you run the command, it will behave exactly as it did before. So if I do this, it's going to have that previous color, and then you can just go like this, right? Okay, and now it's going to ask you for the selection. So yeah, it's a small improvement. If you don't like it, let me know, but you can always use, I think that code is independent, so you can swap it out for the old version, or just keep the old version. Okay, next I want to quickly go over a couple new commands I made. One is a revision cloud command. This one, might not seem new, but from the coding side of things, it's completely new. And basically what it does is it draws a rectangle revision cloud. It draws the cloud, unlike the previous version of the command, it's not attached to the annotation scale. It scales the size of the cloud based on how big of a box you draw. So yeah, it's completely independent of the annotation scale. Now you run into situations like this where I find this a little bit too large, so I can just run the command. You see that the layer option still exists. I'll do scale. I'll turn it down to 0.5. And that one looks more appropriate than the bigger one, right? So super versatile. You can always use AutoCAD's built-in revision cloud command, but for me, about 80 to 90% of my revision clouds, if I really want, 95% or more, can be rectangles. I kind of like the look of a rectangle more than like a random polyline or shape, right? So yeah, so that's one of the new commands I've added. If you prefer the old version, you can just keep that and not throw this one in your folder. But yeah, I think I mentioned it, but it doesn't use a reactor, and to me, that's important. The beauty of AutoLisp is, I guess, keeping it simple, and when you have too many reactors, sometimes it can have some not great effects. That one was pretty simple, but whatever. Anyways, I don't want to talk about that anymore. I want to move on to this. This is a command I made. I don't have an alias picked out for it yet. So I have toggle shade layers as my command alias. I actually made this command while I was making a video comparing AutoLisp to C#. Whether I'll ever get around to posting that video or not is another story. But this command, I realized it was so good that I might as well keep it maybe, right? I'm just seeing if I can actually plug that into my command line. Yeah, so toggle shade layers, turn all off, include shade layers, include hatch layers. So we'll just go with that. I'm going to hit enter. Same thing again, I'm going to hit enter, enter. So all this is doing is it has, if the layer name has shade in it, it's going to toggle it either off or on. Now the thing that sucks is that if you turn one shade layer off but the others are still on, it'll kind of get all crossed up, right? So that's why it has the option to turn all off, then you can get resynced. So run that again. We'll go to include hatch layers. Yes. So that's on layer 0, I guess. And there's a reason for that. I didn't want to turn the wipeout layer off. So if you only want to turn the hatch layers on and off, you can do that. Put that. And yeah, I'll just say one more time that if you do get out of sync, you can just turn all off. Then everything's back in sync, and then you can just turn them back on. So yeah, I only made that as kind of like a demo command for a video that I'll probably never upload. It turned out to be so useful that I'm actually including it in my day-to-day work. I just need to think of a better command alias. But yeah, remember, it's super easy to change these aliases. Just a little quirk with Visual Lisp Editor that if you have more than one file open, sometimes you have to go into it twice or it kicks you back into your active AutoCAD file. No biggie. So maybe like TSL or something. Sky's the limits there, right? You can use almost any alias you want. Okay, so we're almost done. Between cuts, I added this little piece of text right here, you might notice. I'll get to that just in a second. I'm going to try to breeze through this. I'm almost out of coffee, and I'm sure you got things to do as well. But yeah, I just want to let you know that this template, as it is more or less complete. I'm going to, if I find something wrong with it, I'll fix it. If it doesn't require like a major overhaul or anything, right? But I'm not going to do much changes to this as it stands. There's a few reasons for that I'll get into. One big change, however, or big improvement would be maybe making a custom ribbon panel. Now, if you look on my channel, you'll see that I have some videos on that. It's a little bit cumbersome. I could make a ribbon panel, package it in a customizable CUI file. I forget what the actual file name is called. Probably be the easiest to install if it was like that, but it's not. It's a hands-on task. Even if I make the ribbon panel and tabs, you'd still have to find a place to put it, all the custom icons and stuff like that. So I'm thinking about doing this. It would really help out those who don't like typing, but it would be a bit of a pain for me to create. Not really a pain, just finding the time to do it, and then for you it would be a bit of a pain getting it installed and working. The CUI is absolutely awesome, but for me, I find it to be very unintuitive. And then I got to make sure I don't actually take along some of my crap if I do make that customizable CUI file. So that's that. But yeah, so anyways, the reason I'm kind of capping this project off is because the template kind of deviated from the direction I went with my day-to-day construction template. My layering with construction is very similar, but I use a double numbering system. And then if you're familiar with master format, I have all my things, my materials like concrete, wood, and stuff. I have them set to numbers similar to master format numbers, right? So I find that since this template is so much different than my day-to-day work, I just don't use it very often, and hence why a lot of these issues crept up later rather than sooner. So going forward, I'm kind of still thinking about what to create. My background was making structural drawings. At first, heavy steel construction, and then just conventional building construction, like cast in place concrete and Western platform framing style drawings, right? For those, there's a lot of benefit to automation, I think. And then presentation too, for me, was way more important than a lot of other people thought. And the lack of presentation did create a lot of problems. Of course, they blame the draftsperson for that, never the people that don't realize that you can make nice looking drawings quickly if you just, you set the standards up to accommodate such, right? So anyways, I'm thinking about making like a really, really badass set of structural standards for concrete, wood, and then stick a little bit of steel framing and stuff onto that. And a program you might notice me using more and more is Rhino 3D. My C# skills are almost good enough to put all these commands, all this code into Rhino. But C# and Rhino, it's a good API, but I'm a little bit slow with it still, so that's another thing about finding the time. I'll end this video. I'll just mention that I'm working on an estimating app for AutoCAD. If you're interested in that, leave a comment. It's going to be very basic, but that's kind of the goal of it. Anyways, if you're interested in that, leave a comment, but I am going to make another video on that anyways. Okay, so that covers everything I wanted to talk about in this video. While I'm here, I might as well set a deadline for myself to get these changes, these updates uploaded. I'll say within 2 weeks, I'll have the new template uploaded. Maybe I'll sit on it about a week, see if I get any feedback or suggestions. But yeah, I don't have a lot of time anyways, so I think it's pretty much going to be uploaded in its current state. So anyways, with all that out of the way, I'm just going to say thanks very much for watching, and thanks for your interest in this little side project of mine.